Hi everyone, welcome to the pod. On this episode, we have an interview session with an interesting guest. His name is Praise. I know I mentioned I'm going more solo, but once a month I would have an interview with a guest. His name is Praise. He's a co-founder of DropX, a hyperlocal delivery platform connecting businesses and individuals with independent delivery agents. Closing down your company is hard. It's very hard. And in my discussion with Praise, you will learn about his reasons, the process of shutting down a company, and some facts to consider before even starting a similar business. And also, he shares his thought on fintech space in the end, why you should care about the fintech space. Basically, but before we get started, this podcast is produced by What's Podcast, a podcast management company for busy individuals and businesses if you are too busy to create content. Kindly check the link in the description to subscribe to What's Podcasting newsletter for podcast recommendations. More on that as we move on. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet, as you listen, may you be blessed. First, DropX is a hyperlocal delivery platform, meaning delivery that typically focuses on delivering goods within a small specific geographic area, making it fast and convenient delivering services to local customers. So it's like, take for example, you want to send something within your small community, right? It helps focus on that, right? Like say, people who watch The Office, let's say in Scranton, Michael Scott wants to send something to Jim that lives in his house there in Scranton. They could use DropX as an example to send something within themselves all living in Scranton. And let's take our own here in this country. You live in Lagos, you live in Ekpe, you want to send something to somebody in Ekpe. You see, DropX would help you solve that problem. Hyperlocal delivery platform. With that out of the way, for me, it was interesting to find out from Praise how long has it been since he shut his company down. I remember this conversation happened in March of 2024.
That happened last year. So that happened. I think the decision was made mid last year. Basically, we don't just close a company. There's a process of winding down. And when people say you close a company, they think it's a shop that you just wake up the next day and close the shop. But even if you were to close the shop, you have goods that you have to, sell. You have to maybe pay your rent or stop paying, whatever it is. There's a process to the shutdown. So it took a couple of months, but yeah.
Choosing a business partner is a thing that can be scary. I'm not gonna lie. And I was interested to know the reasons why he chose the person he chose to work with. Why did you decide to start your business with Tolu? Why did you decide to start your business with Tolu, your co-founder?
Tolu, who is Tolu?
So just like some human, I made a mistake. To be honest, I don't know who Tolu is, and I don't know why Tolu came to my head, why I was asking this question. Tope, sorry. I'm reading it wrong. Oh God, I'm reading it wrong. Tope, sorry.
Yeah, so it was in my partner at the time, right? We're already doing business together, right? So it's easy to do business with people that you're already doing business with. We already had something going on in that line, in the logistics line, and there was normal brick and mortar logistic company that we were working on at the time. So this was just an extension of that. So it was an easy decision. We're already doing business together with that. We might as well just do something else together.
Let's turn it into a company as well.
No. There was a company already. There was a couple of companies we were working on together, right? And this whole idea of making a platform, a mobile app or a platform for logistics, stemmed from why don't we do this thing that we basically had a conversation around it, right? And to answer your question on why do we do business together, it's simply because we've been doing business together. So the relationship was there, the trust was there, there was some interaction, communication was easy. So yeah, so it's a no-brainer.
Well, I think there's a lesson there from listening to Praise is do business with people you have foundational trust for or with, and that's cool. To be honest, that's really nice. So you have an amazing team, a trustworthy business partner, but at some point things just stop making sense. It's like you're in a relationship with someone and you're going, you're having fun, you're going for those trips, you're going out, and all of a sudden the thought of this thing that we're inside I think we need to close at some point in time. And for me, like I wanted to get a sense of, hey, Praise, when did the thought of, well, I think we might end this.
Well, like I mentioned in the article, when the numbers stop making sense, right? Um, you can't. Every business you run or everything you do is in terms of business is in the whole purpose is basically to make money, all right, or at least to be cash flow positive. You may not be excessively profitable, but the number should make sense. But when the number stops making sense, you try your best to see what you can turn, how you can turn things around, and most importantly, you also want to be sure that if you were to turn things around, right, the new pivot that you're pivoting into, is it something that you will want to do for a long period of time? So let me give you this example. There are some founders that pivot their startup because maybe this wasn't working out, and then you notice that their enthusiasm towards the company drops, and that is because they are just trying to stay alive and pending the time they figure out what next to do. So it's very important that founders don't waste time doing something that is not profitable or is not or doesn't have the the potential for the growth that you are working towards getting. So that's what I think.
For how long were the numbers not making sense before you started observing or taking notes that okay, these numbers are not adding up anymore?
I can't really remember the time, but you have to check the article again because the time the numbers started making sense was when we wanted to scale, and then we said we added new features or new products on the platform, and we claimed that was a serious mistake. So that was when we started funding the activity on the platform instead of the activity funding us.
Who said it first?
I wouldn't say there was someone that said it first. I was like, it was a unanimous decision. So every week, founders are supposed to try to meet as often as they can to review the numbers. So let's say you meet every Monday morning or every Friday, and the numbers keep doesn't make sense. And then your decision or the meetings you're having is to pull money back. Oh, let's pull money into this thing. It got to the point where the meeting we had, we just sat down. I was like, when is this thing going to start making sense? Because I believe strongly that startups should start making money from day one, especially if you do not have prior funding or you don't have prior cash flow. Like you're not buoyant, you're not Elon Musk. You did not sell your last company and you have $200 million in the account, and you can say, let me do a rocket to go to space. And even as that, Elon Musk already has like plans for revenue from the US government, giving him some contracts on the side. So it's important that founders should be profitable from day one. If we did this startup during the funding bubble, during that time where money was actively available, we could have raised and we could have stayed afloat and we could have figured it out. Then they would have closed. Because so a lot of startups that raised so much during that era, they basically made a lot of noise and they still died. Right. So if you are not cash flow positive, in my opinion, 6 months into your startup, it's a sign there's a problem. Right? There's no the idea of let us run 2 years without sustainable revenue or sustainable cash flow, and then we'll figure it out. It's a US thing, right? Unfortunately, this is Africa, and you need to be as profitable as you can as quickly. I'm not even saying profitable. You need to be cash flow positive as quickly as possible, right? Profit simply means you've spent all the money, you've done all the necessary things, you now have money left over. Or you can even say EBITDA, so you now have money left over. But as a startup, in your first 6 months, you should be able to at least break even. Your total cost of operations and managing the business can match your total inflow. That is fine. So if I put say 10 million naira into my business, that business in 6 months should not be asking for another 10 million naira from me, right? Instead, that business should be able to now cover its own cost. I have started it with some capital. It should not be requesting more capital from me. So there are some ideas that are just like a well of just to keep throwing money and the money just keep going down there. If we look at the history of so many startups in the ecosystem, the history is there for us to learn, and the story is just the same, right? The founders realized that number one, it's not cash flow positive. Number two, if they were to make a pivot to make it cash flow positive, how long would that pivot take to be cash flow positive? Because when people say make a pivot, it's not overnight that they become profitable. So if I had to make a pivot, how long will it take to become cash flow positive? And number three is if I'd make a pivot, this new pivot, is this something I'm passionate to do? Or is this something I feel is solving the problem I set out to solve? And if you can answer those questions, you might just cut your loss at the early stage. The mistake so many founders now make is to think that money will solve the problem, and then they go raise money, and then they just keep the process going. And then they say 18 months down the line, they realize they need to raise more money, and then they keep feeding this dragon of failure with money. Yeah, just keep filling it with money, and eventually it now fails. And oh, we tried our best, it failed, and then you've you've taken people down the drain with you on that. So, yeah, in my opinion, yeah, there are many things you can invest your time in. Will give you similar better results in a short period of time. So, it's best to just do that instead.
Do you think that it's an African thing? Like, is it, and why is it an African thing? You mentioned that this is Africa. You have to start making money at least the first 6 months. Why is it an African thing that it has to work that way?
Okay, good question. Because so in the US, right, where we are modeling our VC, the whole VC ecosystem from, the European countries, they have their own structure of VC, similar to the US structure of VC. But Silicon Valley has given us so many historical record of successes, right? So we have PayPal, we have Amazon, we have, so there's a lot of historical record of successes, right? And new players in the space are banking on the successes. That's number one. Number two, those successes are now creating new flow of cash to new businesses. So you see people like Sequoia Capital, they are basically founded by VCs and also multiple other successful founders. You see people like the Y Combinator of Mafia, I call them that. That all of them are successful founders that have gone to become widely successful. So now, imagine you, all of these people are successful. All their fund, they now have a lot of money, and they are now investing in newer ideas. So you can see the volume of success is large. The volume of success is large. Now let's look at Africa now. When did we start this tech thing, right? And when did it become success? We've not yet achieved in terms of success, the volume that requires us to make certain bets and certain risk. Let me give you an example. VC funds are invested in a 10-year period. So when they invest, like for example, a VC comes up with a fund of 10 million. Let's say they have a fund of $20 million. In 5 years, they are supposed to invest, say, $10 million of that amount in hopes that the next 5 years will be when they are supposed to be preparing either for a follow-on investment or a possibility of an exit. Right. So 5 years is full funding. Next 5 years is waiting for the return of funds. So now, at the beginning stage, when all this free money ran into Africa and they invested a massive load of money in Africa, they were all sitting back and waiting. What's going to happen next? We had no exits, or we had no sustainable, like big exits. No, yeah, positive exits, maybe some M&As here and there, and some small exits. Money started to drop. Like, oh, what's going on? Like, we're not getting our money back. Africa seems to have just captured our money. If you see the story with Jumia, many times Jumia has announced that they want to, or there were rumors that Jumia wants to IPO, or Jumia has attempted to IPO. This is because Jumia has lasted so long. Their investors need a solution. Their money is tied down in Jumia. And the only way they can get their money out is either they sell their equity to someone else, or Jumia actually have a plan for an exit. And the only plan Jumia has for an exit is either Amazon buys them or the IPO. So without those two options, everyone that's invested in Jumia right now, their money is trapped, except they can sell to another investor. So the biggest win in the past 3 4 years we've had is Paystack. Paystack getting acquired by Stripe just changed the game. Everyone like, wow, this exit is possible. So now everyone believes in Africa. That tells you a lot. One company. And even though we've had some exits in South Africa and some in other countries, but Paystack exit was massive, $200 million. If you check CC website, if you check Ingressive website, if you check Ventures platform website, you will see they wrote the Paystack exited. They are so excited about that exit. And that simply means that they've now been able to return money back to investors, right? And now investors are pulling money back into the ecosystem. Oh, there is hope of an exit. So now you're a startup founder. You know that VC money is the most expensive money you can ever think about. Forget about the PR, right? It's the most expensive funding with good PR. You are getting into this space as a VC, as a startup, thinking that, oh, let me go and raise capital. And you do not have any plan that this investor will get their money back. How would they get their money back? You don't have it in your head. You just think, I'm doing a big idea. I'm going to change the world. Let me go and look for money and people will fund me. And you keep asking that at the end of the day, no one will be able to exit. You are trapping people. You are entering a marriage for life that you're not sure if there's going to be a way out. So when I was thinking about it, even if this thing cannot run on my own money, because I said on one of my LinkedIn posts that someone can say, I give my all, and your all can be 10 million naira, and another person's all can be 100 million naira. So your all is different. you know, your all is completely different. And what 10 million naira can do and what 100 million naira can do is completely different. You see the difference. And then it becomes clear that this kind of business cannot work sustainably without VC funds, right? So that means that, okay, if I raise VC fund, I need to think from today the possibility of exit of these people I'm bringing to my business. Number two, this thing has to have at least some hope of profitability before VC funding makes sense. So now let's say I go and meet a VC now, even though some people were interested in funding, even though the numbers were not making sense. Oh, we're making 500 naira on a delivery and we're giving 1,000 or 750 back to cover the delivery. So we're losing 250 naira. And you want me to invest? Guy, where are you making your money? Yeah, so we can turn things around. We will figure it out. I'm not going to figure out something on someone's money based on my understanding of the financial market. If I want to invest in me, I will want you to have had a grasp of your numbers and to be cash flow positive, and then I'll be investing in your growth. So let us say we are not having that issue right now, and we're having so much money flowing into the company, and I raise say $100,000. I know that $100,000 will be used to expand into multiple states in the country, or to expand larger in the states you are currently in. Yeah, it didn't just make sense. So it just made more sense to cut your losses now, move on to more profitable endeavors.
I think this is one of the most grateful parts of this episode, listening to him talk about these things the way he has. Another exciting part for me was moving away from DropX a bit, trying to get the sense of praise himself. Like, he has cut his losses early, like, build leverage for yourself, you understand what you're going to, Now, if you're my age, 23, you most likely will not know about WebPay. If you do, clap for yourself, give yourself an award. Congratulations. Now let's Praise explain why he has keen interest in fintech space.
So looking at your portfolio of work that you've done, it looks like you are very, very interested in fintechs. Co-founder of Holy Limited, you volunteer for Futurelist Abuja. So I'm interested why fintech? Like why are you interested in
So before you even did the logistics, right? The idea was mostly a fintech platform. And it's not because fintech is raising funds or anything. It's simply because I ran a software development company during the time of internship and of QuickTeller. And you know those WebPay platforms. Do you know WebPay? Let me just ask.
WebPay? Is it not like the link stuff, like the way Paystack works?
Yes, but you know how it looked like? It was a 2007 interface. You guys not online right now. It's a 2007 interface, and so yeah, it's
By then I never started the press lab.
it's just very effective, but it took you some time to complete a transaction. The introduction of WebPay just changed the e-commerce space. Apart from space, it's also changed the way businesses operated on the internet. But when you do web pay, you don't collect your money that day. Oh. It's like 3 days later, you see your balance, you see your alert. And sometimes you can, before you even see your balance reflect, it can take up to 7 days. But that was not even the problem. The problem was they were solving a simple problem that people wanted to receive money on the internet, right? Say then Starcoms you want to pay for your Starcom service. You go to cyber cafe, you pay for Starcom, you pay using your GT Bank card on WebPay. For clients, we add to get Naira API integration. The process was you pay 150,000 Naira and you will first fill up a textbook of a form and you wait. It's after they've gone through your document and send you emails back and forth and ask for more documents before you can even pay that 150k. Then you pay the 150k, they now send you documentation that is almost like in the PDF file. So you read you have to go through. Obviously, so after multiple integrations, it became easier. So it's because it's a hard thing to get payment integration into a client's website. It takes about say 3 to 6 months, depending on if your client is patient. And this was the problem. I remember we were trying to get international payment for a client, and international payment is about 1.5 million naira for the access to the API. So let's just say you want to receive dollar and naira. So you pay 150k for naira, Then you pay 1.5 million naira for dollar. So that is around 1.650. Now, with just Paystack and you can set payments anywhere in the world. No all this process. So back then you need that process. You need 1.5. So when I told my one of my clients, 1.5, it was hard for them. And you could see how businesses were struggling. The only way they can confirm transactions is by transfer or by checks. Then you now see the likes of Paystack and Flutter. They just came into this space, everything changed. Everything changed, and businesses were mean, small. Then we're implementing for all those storefronts that wanted to have like a website on the internet, to use WordPress to create a website, and then Paystack then had this plugin. You put the place that plugin, and then before you know it, you buy your shoe or bag. Someone has paid. They receive alert. Come and collect your clothes, and it was easy because once you buy something on someone's website, it takes about 1-2 days for the delivery to move to go out. So that they use that 1 or 2 days to wait for transaction to clear. So when transaction clears, then you do delivery. Yeah. So the way but the most important thing is that it was free. You don't have to pay 1.8 million, 1.5 million, or anything. It was free. And seeing how that just transformed so many businesses. A client of ours back then was trying to open a new store, right, in Ikeja. And we said, why don't you just use an e-commerce? He said, tell me about it. We created a small website, a single page with Paystack integration. And it was in a couple of months with Facebook ads, it was making almost the money he was making from that store. So that tells you now, do I need a new store? Or do I need to spend the money on store to spend more on Facebook ads so that more people can come to this website and more people can buy? So you could see down that there was no need for a physical store, and this guy was able to make more money, hire more people, and started focusing on deliveries. Obviously, the guy done jack one now, but that was a success story at the time. So yes, that opened my mind to the possibility of fintech and the implementation of all these what these fintechs are doing. So yeah, that's my passion. I won't say it's a passion. I'm just a problem solver, and seeing the gap in finance is just huge. 36 about a couple of years ago, we had more than active, people like 50 million, almost 36 or 50 million people with BVNs, right? Now, that tells you in a country of 250 million people, that means what are we doing for the remaining 190 million or 200 million people? They don't have it. You understand? So, how do we put them on the banking system? And seeing how team apps has evolved to Money Point, and how I traveled one day and it was an aboki that was educating me on Money Point. He was telling me, I was like, oh, I forgot my card. My card, I think I lost my card, and I wanted to withdraw cash. When I got to the ATM, the POS guy, I said, hey, I forgot my card. He said, okay, no worry. If you do transfer to me, I go receive a lot. Nah, I'll give you cash. I was like, show me. And I did, obviously, I first did 1K transfer. And before I left my app to test, before I left my app, this POS terminal, bang, 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 raised an alert. It showed me and they gave me cash. So I was able to withdraw the cash I needed. So that tells you that, and the coolest thing about Money Point is they even have multiple languages on their platform. Like you don't really need to use it in English alone. So that means an average Hausa man in the middle of nowhere that has POS terminal can use it. You understand? And they're using it as a way that family friends can send money to the guy, and it's a text message. He will then withdraw it and give to the family, to the people in the farm or in the village. So you can see how that service has gotten far into the middle of nowhere. And in the old days, right? My mom used to tell me, if my dad wants to send us money, right, and it's not in the bank or whatever, he will send it through night post. So basically, they will take like a lot of money, put it in the envelope, and go to the they won't touch the money. Then they were trustworthy people, so they go to the night post and then PO box the money. 7 days later, you receive a cash in an envelope. So you can see where we have come from. From there, where money was moved in physically to where we are now. So money is a very important thing, and the ability for people to access it and manage it and use it effectively is a problem that we need to solve more.
I want to understand like the emotional process of you overcoming that. Okay, this thing that you spent your time, this thing that you were interested in, like how are you able to overcome that period of time where you are like, okay, we're closing this thing. What's the first process? Let's start getting on it. After it's all done, emotionally, like how are you able to overcome that period?
Well, the only problem I had with the decision was that I could have used the money to buy Benz, but I did not. I spent it on startup. When my mates were buying car, I was like, when this thing work, I'll buy car. But my emotionally is all right. I'm the person I like to experiment and I like to learn. I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, should I go and do an MBA or masters, or go into startup? So I see it as a learning process that we eventually accumulate into knowledge and accumulate into the next success. So to be an entrepreneur, you need to have thick skin and you need to be a different kind of person. And all through failures and everything, I've been all right, except for the fact that I did not buy Benz last year.
You buy, don't worry. You buy, don't worry. When you go to tell your employees, I'm guessing you guys had employees that were working for you. What were they like their reaction when you told them that, hey, this was happening, this decision we're making?
Well, it was easy for us because it was easy to get them another job. There's a logistic company that we had at the time. We could just transfer them. Although there are already people that. So this is the most important thing I want to even say now is that founders, as they have a very extensive network of people. They can use that to the advantage of their staffs. So, oh, we're closing down, but I'll write a recommendation letter for you, right? That is easy for if you have very small staff. Or if you have like say 500 staff, how many recommendation letter would you write? Well, for small staff, it's easy to say. It's easy to even point that, oh, do you need someone to work with? Let my guy come and work with you. Very, very easy situation because you are small. It was easy to basically recommend our staff to other people and all of that. For the drivers on the platform, it was easy for them. They were already making money on another platform. So when we said, hey, we know they do again, or they're like, oh, Allah now. Both they there, Uber did there. Some of them are still in the group chats that we have. And from time to time, they will just ask, old boat shall rise again. I just look at the message and ignore it. I can't delete the group yet because they are still there. So, but for them, it was easy. For customers, we concluded last deliveries. So some customers I used to pay for deliveries ahead, like they can deposit a lot of money on their wallets for deliveries. We just concluded those deliveries. So we just got a few drivers, called them privately, and assigned those drivers. So please, through 3 days, finish this people delivery. Anything they need, do it, we'll pay you. And then we did that for a couple of days. And some other customers have not placed orders ahead because we used to have this scheduling orders. For those that have not scheduled orders, we just send them. We just, oh no, we're not available anymore. And this we just pull down the app from the app store for new users not to get onboarded.
Your document This is my last question. Your documentation process is very, very interesting. Do you have like a technique you use or a method you use to document the process of how you are building it? Because from the article I could see where you point out that, oh, at this also point in time, 2 months later we observed this, 3 months later we changed this, we did this. Like, do you use a technique to document, or do you just write every single, like, how do you do that? Feels like magic to me.
Notion. So you need to, as a human being, you need to take record. In the Bible, God was very, very keen on record keeping. As simple as put stone here so that when the generation come, they will see it. So put a statue. So yeah, record keeping is vital. And I won't say I was perfect but yeah, just try your best to keep record. Try your best to write down important things in your notebook. And thanks for platforms like Notion, like Keep. You just write it down. Yeah, and then have a very comprehensive dashboard that tells you what is going on in your company, and then you can look at it. In fact, most startups I know have a TV with their numbers displayed. So the founder will walk in and see, hey, so what today? Oh, good things are going on today. So it's good to have numbers. You need to really, really understand your numbers. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Thank you very much, Praise. I don't have any other question. I think these are the things that were in my head as when I was like going through your post and all. I just wanted to get them off. Lastly, do you have anything you want to say? Any interesting thing that you feel you would want to pass? Because the audience that listen to my podcast are mostly young people, my friends, people I've met online that are creatives and otherwise. So, yeah.
If you're young, right, experiment as quickly as you can. Don't waste your time doing one. Don't waste your time. If you're a designer, do the best design you can do, right? And I think young people have an advantage. To just experiment, and all those experimentation basically accumulate into your experience. I also advise that you should not do multiple things together so that you have specialized while you learn new skills, but you have some sort of specialization on something, and then on that journey you just do as much as you can do. and you show up as much as you can show up, right? So let's just say, for example, you're the product designer. You could just wake up one morning and say, I'm free today. Instead of me to watch Netflix or just chill, let me redesign Facebook. Let me redesign that. Let me just do as much as you can do. Because people don't really care anything about in tech. People don't really care which your father is. People just really care what can you do and what have you been able to do. And most importantly, no matter of book or education you can get can equate to expressing that knowledge into action. So you need to take as much action as you can around the knowledge you have, or so to expand the knowledge you have. And community is very important. Learn when you join a community or you're part of a community, be the giver. Be that person that is giving. Don't be stupid about it, but be the person that is giving in the smallest way you can, and be grateful for everything.
Whoa, that was nice. As a regular podcast plug, we would always want to know what our guests on these episodes are listening to on their own. Before we get into that, or as we get into that, kindly check the link in the description and subscribe to the What's Podcasting newsletter if you want to get interesting podcast recommendations like this one you're listening to, or other fun, interesting tech-related science entrepreneurial podcast. With that being said, I will leave you with Praise's podcast recommendation.
Business Wars is one of my very interesting podcasts. Business Wars, and how I built this. So let me just check it again. Yes, how I built this. Yeah, as NPR. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is when guy was.
You've heard it all. Yeah, I said everything, including the podcast recommendation. Thank you very much, Praise. I really appreciate all the time I spent listening to this, making this podcast, and trying to digest it into something interesting everybody can benefit from. I'll give you 2 more notes taken from this episode. Number 1 is the African market is not the US market, and you need to prioritize cash flow as fast as possible. Beware of ideas that are deep wells that can keep drinking your money, especially when you don't have a cash vault somewhere else. If you want to pivot to something you are also interested in. Don't pivot just to keep your company afloat. Know when to cut your losses early. With that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet, I come to the end of this pod. I'll make full notes of this podcast and send it out to the subscribers of What's Podcasting on one random episode. So kindly subscribe to this podcast and give this podcast a rating so I know you like it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, see you on the next episode.
So what's up, people of the internet, boys and girls? One genuine problem I face as a regular podcast listener is finding another interesting podcast I can listen to. And that can be handful, and now to solve the stress around it. So that's why I bring to you What's Podcasting, people? Yeah, What's Podcasting. So it's just an overall low-bar newsletter that people in tech, gigs, babes, nerds, and maybe your mom would love, that kind of shit. So kindly check the link in the description and sign up to receive 3 new podcast recommendations every week that you will definitely not love. But you can never know unless you try it. That's why you're still single. Anyway, don't worry. Bye.